Well, thank you, Fred. I really appreciate the opportunity to present before the U.S. Japan Council at least a business perspective on the role of global enterprises in assisting and growing and strengthening this triangle between U.S., Japan, and China. My perspective is really simple. I'm a humble businessman whose organization and its success is driven by the ability to effectively, legally, and efficiently navigate geopolitical, cultural, and historical differences among communities, nations, in order to meet their customers, our customers' needs. Very simple principle, navigating differences. So let me start off with developing a framework for my point as a business person. As Fred indicated, AECOM is a Fortune 500 corporation, publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange, and is a global provider of professional and technical services looking at a broader range of markets, transportation, facilities, environmental, energy, water, and government, really with a primary focus of solving some of the nation's and the world's most complex problems. And I think if you look at a bridge, at least from our perspective, improving the quality of life among countries around the world strengthen these relationships. As Fred mentioned, AECOM has over 50,000 employees and associates around the world, and over 20,000 associates are living and prospering in these three nations, the United States, Japan, and China, with about 7,000 of our associates in the Asia-Pacific region. As a global corporation, like many of the other companies in this room, there's a simple framework for conducting business successfully. You can't be global unless you're local. Let me say it one more time. You can't be global unless you're local. So the relationships major corporations, major enterprises have around the world are dependent by their ability to operate and prosper locally. So let me develop this context a little further as a global enterprise, and might explore with you today maybe a different, non-traditional way of further strengthening the U.S., Japan, and China economic relationships in the future. Now, companies that operate globally comply with specific country laws and trade agreements, but can transcend geopolitical, historical, and political differences because the people of those enterprises are comprised of many cultures, many nationalities and races, all focused with a common goal, common values, and focus at the success of the enterprise. And I think this common purpose of enterprises that operate globally links people of different nations. And just might be an idea for leaders of these three countries to look at establishing common goals, common interests, and common values. Now, these global entities also have a very unique capability. They actually can transfer work seamlessly within those organizations, share knowledge, develop leading globally technical capabilities to solve these problems, and to do it seamlessly to build an end product, a service, for the final customer. In my views, the global enterprises differ dramatically from international companies. And sometimes when I looked at this relationship sometimes views as international, not global. Global enterprises have indigenous capability within countries. They grow and prosper as the countries, through their shared success in that country, the needs, the challenges, and the future of that country. International companies, on the other hand, target opportunities within various countries. Focus on a transaction, a deal, a project, a sale, but once that deal and project and sale is done, the relationship ends. I think international companies look at their branches and offices only as a vehicle for distribution, not as the relationship. And I submit to this group, in a humble way, that the triangle is dependent upon building this relationship. Global enterprises tend to develop world-class expertise within geopolitical regions and share those within their entity. AECOM is working on 8 of the largest 15 infrastructure projects in the world. And I can tell you that the source of that technical expertise, whatever country that project resides in, is made up of technical capability from around the world, focused on the project's success. So let's talk a little bit briefly on the U.S. Japan-China triangle. We see the three-way relationship between the U.S., Japan, China as shaping the future of the region and in the world. And I think the Senator, as well as the other panelists, talk about those dynamics, those forces. These 3 countries have been extremely successful in various degrees in their bilateral relationship, but challenges remain in each one of those countries. I believe there is common ground. There is a common ground for this triangle of countries in that each corner of that triangle is facing a number of domestic, financial, natural resource, national security challenges that will actually shape the status in the region and in the world going forward. So collaborative, multilateral approaches among the 3 countries can be a very powerful tool to overcome individual and shared challenges. The global enterprise versus the international enterprise. Now, from a business perspective, the triangular relationship and East Asia in general would benefit if the U.S., Japan, and China move through a combination of bilateral and multilateral approaches through compatible, complementary interests. Further opening the borders, driving predictability in business, driving the risk profile of companies and investments, and increasing the number of parties within conducting business within that triangle. What is worrisome for business community is that the indigenous innovation and industrial policies of each country in the triangle heads towards triggering contentious trade disputes and inflamed political rhetoric on all sides of the triangle. To me, this only results in hunkering down among the countries behind techno nationalism at home, while at the same time limits the global markets for world-class solutions to complex problems and the quality of life around the world. And I think such policy and trade uncertainty restricts global collaboration and restricts best-in-class solutions for the world's most complex problems. But I think there is a changing inflection point underway here that could redefine the vectors of the triangle and within the triangle by national consensus and supportive regulatory framework. For the U.S. and Japan, continued strong bilateral relationships is the best way to influence and strengthen the triangle. The paths for China and what it chooses and what kind of regional global power it becomes will also affect that triangle. I think for China, they have a great opportunity to provide the best method and image and reassure its neighbors in the region beyond China's own leadership, and set a more prominent and also a connected role in both the regional as well as the global power. And lastly, I'll just touch base a little bit on infrastructure projects and the impact of those to this triangle. This is a market of particular interest to AECOM, and given that AECOM plays a very significant role in those projects in those three countries. In 2010, the infrastructure and buildings market, so vertical, transportation systems, water systems, energy systems, horizontal building systems, is about $1.5 trillion. 40% of that market is within China, 20% Japan, 40% U.S. By 2020, those markets will go to $3.1 trillion, with China having 58% of that share. So this whole issue of nationalism and this whole issue of a growing business relationship is so critical to each of the partners. And so as I look towards the challenge both countries have, I look at Japan and Japan's industrial structure vision of 2010, which provides enormous opportunity for the growth and industrialization of Japan through collaborative partnerships. And we're really pleased to see that one of the 5 strategies are infrastructure-related systems and strengthening, using infrastructure as strengthening its industrial position. The challenge for Japan is to ensure global perspective towards the partnership, and at the core is implementation to leverage world-class technical competencies such as high-speed rail, energy, seismic expertise, just to name a few, across the 3 countries in partnership. In conclusion, the key for the global enterprises are for the countries to provide an environment which has a level of trust among the partners, among these supranations, which allow global enterprises to expand and process through open and transparent markets that they serve in those countries. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.